Purdue back home trying to end their losing skid against UCLA. The Battle of John Wooden allegiance here. I think I've seen some. I don't know. I don't know if this is real or not. Aren't they like doing a John Wooden statue? Aren't they commemorating John Wooden at Purdue?
At Purdue?
I could be making this up, but I'm pretty sure that's happening.
Oh, I might be completely out of the loop. I took a reset with Purdue because I think everyone needed a reset. I think people that cover Purdue talk about Purdue. I think Purdue players, coaches. I think there needs to be a reset coming to this game. So I have really taken a step back, but I'm interested to get back into it though. I feel refreshed.
Yeah, wait. Okay, it says a new history begins Friday. Purdue and UCLA will always be connected with greatness. Wait, is there already a wooden statue? There's a picture of a wooden statue outside of Mackey Arena. Does that already exist?
I feel like we would have saw that when we went there.
Yeah, why didn't we see a wooden statue?
I think we were too busy looking for a bar, and all we saw was CVS.
I think the wooden statue already exists, and this is just Purdue announcing that we are playing UCLA as a conference opponent, and these two programs are connected to greatness.
So, with all due respect to Wooden, like Katie doesn't get a statue, Humble doesn't get a statue.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I mean, what's Wooden's history again? Where did he played at Purdue? Is that what it was?
You're really asking me about history of John
Yeah,
Wooden?
he played at Purdue, and then he went on to play for the Indianapolis Kotskis before ending up at the Whiting Hammond Caesar All-Americans, and then going straight into coaching, where he coached in the state of Indiana a bunch, Dayton High School, South Bend Central High School, Indiana State, and then oh my God, John Wooden coached baseball for a year.
No, Wooden's got incredible legs. You see this last picture? Look at
Yeah,
that.
that's a nice leg. Wooden went crazy. I didn't realize he was such a good coach. They just had him coach baseball.
Yeah, like Wooden was the Bo Jackson of coaches.
He went 7-7 as a college baseball coach. Anyways, despite our history lesson, anytime two programs connected by one guy's greatness, like UCLA won what 10 national championships under John Wooden, and Purdue won zero under him. So anytime those two programs can share in John Wooden's greatness, you've got to note that it's a really special moment, right?
You know what this kind of, you know what energy this is? Like I understand it. I don't mean to make a joke about this, but I am going to make a joke about it. This is like when like Kentucky would put up that graphic on like the number of max contract players or like the amount of NBA money that they generated.
Yeah, like I think Purdue trying to claim John Wooden as like theirs is just like not a great look for a program as good as Purdue.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Like, are they, if Mason Gillis wins a title at Duke, are we going to get like a jersey signed in Mackey?
We might. We
We
might.
actually might. That's
We actually might.
weird energy. Anyways, what else is weird for Purdue? 4-game losing streak. That's weird. Never seen that before. Purdue hasn't won a basketball game since February 7th. Carter, that was 3 weeks ago from this game. Another Friday night game in Mackey Arena. Good news for Purdue. They are 6-0, excuse me, in Friday night games this year. Do you think Purdue gets right here against UCLA?
I do think Purdue can get right in this game. I think they had some time off to maybe rest, collect themselves after a disaster of a blown loss where they were dominated in the second half by Indiana. And I think some rest, relaxation, for lack of a better term, could do some good for this team to regroup. I think that you talked about how this team can regroup just fatigue wise. Also, maybe there's a regroup mentally on what this team is and an assessment on like what has caused this 4-game losing streak. Because it's not just on the court performance, it's not just defense. I think you rightfully pointed out there seems to be like a mental block that is put up by what is like what's concerning this team. Like what's the most important thing? Like it's a team that seems to be worried about controlling the things that are uncontrollable a little bit too much. So, you know, Purdue needs a win in the worst way. Because losing 5 straight Big Ten games would be, lack of a better term, catastrophic. It's not something that they've done in a long time, and they got a big chance to get back right against a good UCLA team.
UCLA is definitively good, right? Like
Okay.
this
Well,
is
I said it. The only reason I said it like that is because I didn't know if we were both on the same page that they are good.
yeah, respectfully to all parties involved here. If you're looking for like, oh, the get right Purdue game, UCLA is too good of an opponent for that. Like Purdue's 0-4 because they've played good basketball teams. At Michigan, Wisconsin at home, at Michigan State. Those are three really tough games. And then at Indiana, I don't care what you say, Indiana has talent. That's a juiced up rivalry game. Like Purdue's played good basketball teams for four straight games. They've lost all four. You want to look before that? Again, I made this point a while ago and I got largely shit on, but their wins came at home against USC, at Iowa, at home against Indiana. They had a great win against Michigan, Cart. They lost to Ohio State. They beat Oregon, Washington, Nebraska, Rutgers, Northwestern, Minnesota. Purdue hasn't beaten a good team other than Michigan since December. I mean, they were beating good teams at the beginning of the season. Alabama and Maryland were great wins, but in conference play, they have beaten up on the worst teams in this league, and they have gotten beaten by the good teams outside of the Michigan game. That's the only thing. And I understand the schedule game is not always fun to play, but they're basically what people thought Michigan State was. That's what this Purdue team has been for the last 2 months. The team that when the schedule heats up, they're in trouble. And when the schedule
Mhm.
didn't heat up, they went on a big run. UCLA, to me, absolutely part of the heated up schedule still. Like if you thought the last four games were a gauntlet, the gauntlet doesn't end when UCLA comes to town. This team's 20-8. They're 11-6 in conference play. That's the same Big Ten record that Purdue has. UCLA has wins against Michigan State, against Wisconsin, against Gonzaga, against Arizona this season. Those are all top 12 teams in college basketball. I mean, there aren't many teams that have beaten four top 12 opponents this year. UCLA qualifies as one. And I think they're playing well right now. I know that Minnesota loss at home was weird, but they're what? 9-2 in their last 11 games. I think they're
And
playing
what
good
they do in the
basketball.
end of that? Didn't they miss like nine straight free throws at
They
the end of
missed
that?
nine consecutive free throws to lose a game at home to Minnesota, and then the other loss was on the road at Illinois. I mean, that's Illinois is still good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and but the flip side of that for me, outside of UCLA being a good team, is that teams that have gone into Mackey this year and won have had like special offensive shot making performances. UCLA is not necessarily doesn't necessarily have the personnel that provides that. They're a good basketball team, but they don't have just a guy that is going to torch them, at least on paper.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe look like Billadau,
yeah, that's fair. I
Billadau,
am looking through Ohio State and Wisconsin both shot 40% from three. Remember that the Wisconsin game they just scored 91% in 2-point range.
right?
So that is, I mean, UCLA could just dominate inside again, right?
Yeah, they could. I mean, Mara's 7-3. Dailey provides a mismatch. I'd honestly be scared of TKR picking up fouls if he somehow matched up or guarding Dailey because I think he can do some things putting the ball on the floor. So there's some offensive, I think, issues that UCLA could provide for Purdue's 2 point defense. But at the same time, you look back at the teams that it's been guys like that have been like special. Like Tanji gave him 30. Micah Parrish had like 20 something when he was busting Fletcher Lawyer's ass. Like you need to have someone who steps up and is just making some elite shot making.
Who was busting Fletcher Lawyer's ass?
Micah Parrish.
So you've got to have a Micah Parrish to beat Purdue then.
Yeah, it was Micah Parrish and others.
But like you like trying to make the point, you need a guy, and then the guy was Micah Parrish. Like
Touche, touche, touche.
UCLA has some Micah Parishes, I think. Eric Dailey could do what Micah Parrish did. Sky Clark is a guy that can get hot. We have seen Sebastian Mack be a guy that can get you 18 to 20 points a night. Dylan Andrews, I still think, is their best guard. He's had a weird year, and Billadau is their best player. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't want to downplay this. I don't want to act like oh Purdue's just back at home. UCLA is they're fine. No, UCLA is really good and has gotten up for the biggest games on their schedule. And it's just a tough opponent. Like Mick Cronin has this team playing very tough nosed. I don't think they're going to be spooked by the environment all that much. And they play such an impressive defensive brand of basketball that I do think it could cause some problems for Purdue. On that note, UCLA is the fourth best turnover forcing defense in college basketball. For much of the non conference, they were number one in the country in forcing turnovers. It's what they do. They get in your shit and they pressure you and they turn you over live ball stuff and get out and run and finish those plays. In the half court, they slow offense down. So making sure you don't have live ball turnovers is a pretty big issue against UCLA because I don't think their half court offense is all that good. But when they can force a turnover, pick it up, and run, they're pretty damn good. Purdue has really struggled with turnovers recently in this losing streak. Braden Smith specifically, back-to-back 6 turnover games. Now they've had 5 days to prepare for this. Maybe he finally got a little rest and relaxation. But are you worried about this matchup for Braden, given his turnover problems that are ongoing right now?
Yes and no. Yes, I am because I think you can't argue with the fact that he has turned the ball over at a high rate these last couple games and that UCLA forces them. No, because I still believe that Braid's better than what he's played. I think there's he is better than he has shown. Um, and I think maybe the couple days off to relax and uh regroup a little bit are going to do him good as far as the turning over of the basketball.
Okay. So you think he literally just needs to like get his legs back under him?
And like mentally get right a little bit. Just mentally get there. Like I think you brought it up. A big point of like what this team is mentally is they are a team that is looking for fouls, complaining to the refs, and turning the ball over, and everyone's against us. Wham. How dare they treat Purdue like this? I think there needs to be a little bit of a mental shift in this one, a little bit of killer instinct, and I will side with Braden when it comes to killer instinct.
I will too. I believe the kid's going to have a loud bounce back at some point this season. Um, I don't know if UCLA is the defense to have that happen against.
Given like the guards and the turnovers.
Guards, turnovers, they kind of Michigan Statey, right? I've compared the same way I've compared Michigan to Illinois all year in that they're both big and finesse and blah blah blah. Michigan State and UCLA are very similar. Michigan State's the better version of the two teams.
Mhm.
But UCLA can do 90% of what Michigan State can do. They're really deep. They run a bunch of physical guards at you. They have 4 different guards that can guard your best player. And they just kind of interchange them, keep them fresh. They don't worry about foul trouble. They play physical. I don't know. To me, that's scary because I think what Michigan State did against Purdue really worked. And I think UCLA can replicate a lot of that. Cronin's also like a good coach. That's the other thing in this. Like Cronin knows how to push buttons that like right this team's wrongs, as he did earlier in the season when they lost 4 straight. And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of feel like if there's a scout out there of what works against Purdue that's already out there, Cronin's probably going to take it and optimize it. And it shouldn't be that hard for him to replicate what Michigan State did here, I don't think.
That's fair to say. Fair to say.
Do you consider this Purdue team tough?
No,
Do you consider this UCLA team tough?
extremely.
That's my biggest concern.
Does the Mackey effect balance that out at all?
It balances it out a lot for sure. But at the same time, like a team as mentally tough as UCLA, I don't really expect them to be spooked by it.
Hmm.
I just think Purdue will probably get some calls at home that help them a little here
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
UCLA can be foul prone and overly physical.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it is going to play a major factor, but as far as like mentally tough and just physically tough, I think that it's clearly UCLA.
Yeah. Both these teams, the one interesting thing to me, both these teams are really bad 2-point defense wise. Even though Ade Mara has come into the lineup a little bit, he's not exactly like a stopper down there. And when they
Hmm.
don't play Mara, they're pretty Purdue-esque in the fact that they're trying to play like a 6'9" center that's just not a rim protector. So
Yeah.
both these teams also very good 2-point offenses. Like I think you could see TKR have a huge game. I think you could see Bilodeau have a huge game. Maybe a night where they both are trying to outscore each other, get to 30. What do you make of that matchup? Do you think they match up on each other, or if you're one of the others, would you use Mara? Would you use first on the scorer guys here?
I think I like Mara's length on TKR. But also at the same time, TKR is probably just going to put the TKR wagon on him and stuff him down low, and he's not going to be able to even try to block the shot. But I think I would go with Mara's length on TKR. No.
I think TKR would get Mara in foul trouble right away, and if not, TKR would just like push his hook shot out to the free throw line and be fine.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think it's just going to be Bilodeau versus TKR straight up. They're both going to torch each other, and then when Mara's in the game help side, maybe he can get some help side shot blocking there. But
Yeah, I kind of like that. The thing is, like, as much as these guys have the same interior defense, 2 point wise, I think UCLA's defensive pressure on the guard spot in the wing is levels above what Purdue can do.
yeah, that's where I'm at too. How much Mara do you think we see? Because that's a big swing, big development for UCLA lately, and it's two very different versions of their team. Almost, it's not all that different than the version of Purdue that was trying to play Will Berg, except it works for UCLA. But that's how different UCLA is. When they're playing with Mara, they're a whole different construct than when they're playing without him.
Uh, I mean, are you asking like, are they better with Mara on the floor? What do you?
I'm asking, will he be on the floor in this game? Because we've seen in UCLA's wins in this like 9-2 stretch, Mara's played 21, 30, 28, 20, 24, 20 minutes. And then he's still in their losses. He had a game with 8 minutes. He had a game with 14 minutes. It seems like Cronin kind of just decides like this is a Mara matchup or it's not. I don't know
I
how
honestly,
he's going to view this against Purdue.
I think you should view it the way you just laid it out. I really like that. Like having Mara as like the guy back there because he can guard first, and first is not going to be a threat. And even if they throw it to first at the dunker spot, Mara can recover to that.
Yeah.
And that's a win if first is taking shots. So I kind of like that. And maybe frustrate TKR too as well. Just having to drive into and there's a 7-3 guy right back there. I think that could frustrate him possibly too.
Yeah. Okay. Give me guard trust rankings in this game. Braden Smith is definitely one for us both, but outside of that, you could use CJ Cox, you could use Fletcher Lawyer, you could use all of the UCLA guards. I've been on record. I think Sebastian Mack's very good. Dylan Andrews is up and down. Sky's probably their best guard to me, but I wouldn't say I trust any of the UCLA guards, if that makes sense.
I go Braden. I would still go Fletch. I just as even with Mac and like I kind of on the same. I just can't trust the UCLA guards. But if we're having like a talent off, then you might pick them. But as far as trust, it's still Braden Fletcher is what I put in that order.
Braden, then Fletcher, then all three of the UCLA guards, then CJ.
Yes. Yeah.
What's the trust ranking for the UCLA guards?
Ooh. Honestly, credit the Sky. He's been pretty consistent. I would go Sky Andrews Mac.
Yeah. I'd go Sky, then Mac, then Andrews. I trust Andrews the least.
You do. I something about Mac. I just can't get there.
Yeah, they're both icky. I don't love it. Which as we talk through this, maybe we should just make this clear. We're sitting here saying we don't trust the UCLA guards. They're pretty icky. Can you really pick a team with a backcourt you don't trust to go into Mackey and win a game?
Ohio State did it.
Yeah, but you like Bruce Thornton and John Mobley.
Yeah, I was saying you don't necessarily trust those guys.
Yeah.
No, I feel like you do have to have some trust. I do trust Eric Dailey and Tyler Bilodeau.
Dailey feels like the one guy we haven't talked enough about and probably should hear from just this sense. There's pretty obvious matchups everywhere else. Like
No,
Bilodeau,
no, yeah, no one on Purdue can check Eric Dailey.
there's nobody like Eric Dailey on the Purdue roster.
No,
And Daly's been pretty sensational. Like he's not in the mix for all Big Ten stuff yet. He's only a sophomore. This is his first year at UCLA. He has been quiet lately, which is strange. But earlier in conference play, he was like a dude, arguably UCLA's best player. So I don't know. He had 20 against Ohio State, 20 and 8 last game, two steals mixed in. He's got games with 23, 21 earlier in conference play. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 Ken Palm MVPs on the year. How do you think
hmm
Purdue Like, is Eric Dailey at the top of the scouting report for Purdue, or is
I
like,
think he should be because I think he provides a mismatch for them. TKR cannot check Eric Daly. First cannot check Eric Daly. You don't have anyone that can check him. This should be a big daily game, and part of the quiet games I think he has is you look at his minutes; they've been down, even without foul trouble, it seems. But you play him major minutes and he gets shot attempts,
hmm.
he's gonna give you at minimum like 15 and 5.
On the flip side, if you're Purdue, could you get TKR isolated on Daily? Probably, right?
Yeah, you probably could. Yeah,
And that's food if that happens.
that is. I'd be interested. You think UCLA will play Daly at the three at all?
Go super big.
Yeah,
If they do, that would be intriguing to me because what does Purdue do?
I know. And
Fletcher
also,
on
like
Daily?
Daly's good. Daly's good defensively too. Like, I mean, obviously, you
Yeah.
don't want him chasing around Fletcher Lawyer, but you throw him on CJ Cox though at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. It'll be there's I feel like there's a lot of personnel decisions for Mick Cronin to make here. And like we know what Purdue's going to do. It's basically what version of UCLA is Mick going to throw out there, and there's versions I think would be really good, like a lot of Mara in this game, a lot of Eric Daly in this game, and then there's versions I don't like as much, which is going small. So see what Mick Cronin does. It'll be interesting. Anything else from you on this before we get going on predictions?
I just don't like where I'm at in my head prediction wise. Before we get to it, we can get to it.
Okay, let's do the prediction then. UCLA on the road at Purdue, 5-point underdogs. Purdue's supposed to win 72 to 67 per Ken Palm. What do you think?
I hate where I'm at. I can't deny. I think a lot of the things we just talked about, but it's also Mackey. I'm gonna go Purdue in an extremely like nail biter fashion. So UCLA to cover that 5, but Purdue wins.
Did you just talk yourself out of that on the fly?
I don't know. I want to. Everything in my head was like UCLA in this matchup, but I don't know if I can get there to picking them.
So in this four-game losing streak, Purdue is the 55th best team in the country per Torvik. UCLA isn't all that much better. They're only 39th in the same span. I want to go back a little further. Let's go back to the beginning of UCLA's like 9-2 stretch. Go to January 17th. So this is really who this UCLA team has become, I feel like. Let's see what Torvik says. UCLA is the 12th best team in the country since January 17th. They are 9-2 in Big Ten play. They are the second best team in the Big Ten, only behind Wisconsin in that span. Purdue in that span is 5-5 overall, 21st nationally, and let's see, they are fifth in the Big Ten.
Hmm.
By the way,
Oh God.
oh no, this is just hilarious to me. Hold on. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Michigan is 10th in the Big Ten per Torvik while going 8-2 since
10?
January 17th. They are worse than Northwestern and Indiana per Torvik in the last
That's
month.
crazy. That's crazy.
That's insanity.
That is.
All right, so you're rocking with Purdue?
I think so.
I'm gonna take Purdue and think that this is a big TKR game because Mick Cronin goes away from Mara. And if Mick Cronin goes small, I think TKR will feast, and hopefully Braden has his legs under him a little bit.
Big McCronin game, huh?
Big Mick Cronin game.
Big McCronin game.
But let me make it clear: if it's Mick Cronin versus Matt Painter, I'll take Matt Painter.
Respect.